is going on, folks? I'm back with yet another video. I know I missed last week, but the goal long term is to bring these weekly reactions to you as far as how we should be navigating our fantasy leagues as the season progresses here. Usually, week two tends to be week one tends to be that week where everyone overreacts, and then we start to see corrections in week two, and this is what we saw here. And so I know a lot of people freaked out last week about performances from different players they had invested a lot in. That usually happens week one, and that's for a host of reasons. Since like the league moved on to like 18 games, I feel like that first regular season game is basically a de facto preseason game. It's like a fourth preseason game where for the first time players are playing in an actual game and they're adjusting to the different dynamics that they are going through in those games. And I think then they do correct for week two, which is what you saw this week. We saw a lot of big performances from the key players you've already invested in, and we're here to talk about some of those. There's been a bunch of injuries that may impact how you navigate the next 2-3 weeks. My IR spots are already full with players, with starters, right? Sometimes you pick up lottery tickets and you drop them in those IR spots. That is not the case for me. Most of the leagues I'm in, yes, I did that, but I had to drop them just to stash my starters in those spots. But yeah, so let's jump into this reaction here and start with like the Green Bay Packers and the Washington Commanders. This game was on Thursday. Thursday's games are really always weird for me because like usually the home team really is they're in the confines of their own environment, so they tend to perform better. And we saw that here. Green Bay has been playing like really, really great this season, especially that defense. And so I expected there to be some low performances, especially the fact that Washington was traveling over there to play them. But yeah, the stars of the game here were obviously we have the running back position, which is Josh Jacobs here for the Packers. He led the Packers with 23 attempts, 84 yards, and a touchdown. I feel like, I mean, what more can you ask from this guy, right? He's doing what he's giving you production based on how you drafted him, where you drafted him. But I think there were some surprises that we saw here. Players like Zach Ertz. Coming into the season, Zach Ertz was a guy that just kept showing up in my rankings in terms of players to draft at the position. And I didn't get a lot of shares of Zach Ertz. I wish I did, but like later on in the season, as the drafts progress, I started to pick him up in leagues here and there, and I'm reaping the benefits, right? He's been good over the past 2 weeks, and I mean, if you were getting just 10 points from your tight ends in this day and age, you were lucky. Ekeler got hurt in this game. Krusky Merritt came in but did not do much. I feel like he's probably going to do better this coming season. He's like the lone man left in our backfield. And so as you go and hit waivers, make sure you're picking up the backups in that backfield. You never know how the run's going to be distributed. Make sure the guys in that backfield, I think is Chris Rodriguez, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the candidates in there. And then Jeremy McNichols. I think Ekeler's out for the season. So, like, yeah, it's going to be a lot of work for Bill, as they call him. On the receiving side, Terry McLaurin was pretty quiet. We saw Deebo Samuel again deliver this week. And like guys, I'm not looking for a monster week from these guys. You're gonna get ebb and flows, but the fact that for Deebo Samuel has been really consistent the past 2 weeks is all you need based on where you drafted him. There's a bunch of big name players that haven't really delivered for your team based on where you drafted them. I think about Mike Evans. The game just ended here as I'm filming this. And he really didn't deliver much for my teams in the leagues I have him. And it's been 2 weeks now. I know there'll be some boom weeks, but thus far he hasn't really delivered. I'm not yet concerned, but we'll get there. On the Green Bay side, Tucker Kraft. Again, one of those guys that just kept showing up in the rankings as I was drafting. Hey, pick up Tucker Kraft. He was just ranked higher than some of the guys that were going before him. Unfortunately, whenever I came around to draft him, he was already gone. Like, I didn't have enough money to afford the services, but he went off in this game. I mean, there was big plays after big plays from Tucker Kraft. 6 for 124 and a touchdown. You would take that any day. Besides that, I feel like this Green Bay passing game is going to ebb and flows, right? It's going to be one week you're going to have someone do really well, and next week it's going to be, you never know who to start on this team, and that's why I avoided them as much as possible. I think I have maybe a share in I don't know, but I avoided Green Bay passing game like the plague, and that's why, because I just can't go into my games weekly trying to figure out who to start, who to sit. I just don't have that much clarity. But yeah, guys, I think there was some injuries in this game. I think the Green Bay wide receiver, forgot his name, got hurt in this game and is out for now, for as long as as far as we know. Ekeler's out. We got word today that Jaden Daniels also had an ankle thing that popped up. And so there's a chance that he might be missing this week as well. So keep your eye on that. If you are in a 2 QB league, make sure you're picking up backups wherever you can, because it's just week 2. We've lost a lot of starters. And I think there's going to be more to go down. So make sure you're picking up backups if you are in a 2 QB league. Just to make sure, if you in a 2 QB league, like QBs are gold. So if you lose one, you are at a disadvantage. So make sure you're picking up backups if you can. Let's move on to Cincinnati. Talking about injuries, Joe Burrow went down in this one, but Jake Browning came in and did an amazing job filling in for him. I think this happened not last year, but a year before when Burrow got hurt. Browning came in here and he played quite well. So I don't expect any dip in production from your key players on this offense. I think Brown is going to do Brown things. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are going to be fine. We saw some guys come off the bench and do some things with Jake Browning, and that's, I think, because he was comfortable with them. So came in 241 yards, 2 TDs, 3 interceptions. I think that will get better if he has more practice time this week. Trevor Lawrence was also good in this game, not spectacular good. Etienne, I mean, for where we drafted Etienne this year, he's doing quite well over the past 2 weeks. We saw the emergence of Bishop Tutin. Is that Tutin? So we saw the emergence of that guy, 8 for 42, and he was also really, really impressive in the passing game. Chris Brown led the backfield with 6 for 47. He was not really as productive in this one as we've seen in other games. I feel like this game was like a sneaky shootout. Every time I looked, there was a big play happening down the field. From the Jaguars side, from a passing standpoint, Parker Washington is a guy that stepped up, 5 for 76. Diami Brown scored an early touchdown. I don't really see those guys factoring much into like the fantasy conversation, or maybe they will. I've been disappointed by Travis Hunter thus far. I mean, for the past 2 weeks, he really hasn't done much. So I know maybe this gets better. He's a young player. There's a lot going on. So I think as he gets better, I expect better things for him. But I don't know how much you can trust putting him in your lineup for this week and the coming weeks until you see a better production than what we've been seeing thus far. I feel like Brian Thomas Jr. were being targeted left and right. So this is just like an aberration in terms of like the performance. He got so many end zone targets. Every time I look, I thought they were passing the ball to him in the end zone. They just didn't connect on that, so I think he will be fine. Jamar Chase went off in this game, 14 for 165 and a touchdown. T. Higgins also scored 3 for 56. All right, so not a ton of volume, but I'll take the 56 and touchdown any day, right? A guy that's been playing more and more is Noah Fant in this offense. I think I'm hoping that this is something that's sustainable. I'm really happy for that guy. I hope that's a guy you should keep your eye on as the season progresses. If you get injuries at tight end, I think game in and game out, he might give you some solid production. But yeah, the key takeaway from this game is that Joe Burrow is going to be out probably for a little while. So you should be rushing to the waiver wires to pick up Jake Browning. And you know who you are. If you are in 2 QB leagues, this guy is serviceable. 2 years ago when he was filling in for Joe Burrow, it was like nothing changed for me. I picked him up and he was pretty good until Joe Burrow came back. So yeah, I think he's going to deliver here again this time around. He's been in the offense longer and he's going to have time to really work with his weapons. So I don't expect any major drop-offs. I know he's not Joe Burrow. I don't expect any major drop-offs from Jake Browning. So rush the waiver wires, pick up Jake Browning if you are in a 2 QB league. If you're not in a 2 QB league or you are in a really 16 to 20 team league, maybe that's an opportunity for you as well. The leagues I play in are no longer 10 team leagues. I play in leagues that are 12 teams and above with really massive rosters, like 19 and above per team. And so yes, so my 2 QB leagues, I'll be putting in a hefty fab for Jake Browning. And I don't care if it's temporary. I'll put that in. I try to get Jake Browning as much as possible and see what happens with Joe Burrow. You never know, right? I feel like the past few years, injuries have gone from a couple of weeks to now he's out for 4 weeks, 5 weeks. That can really hinder your season. If you're waiting for Joe Burrow to come back and you are 0-4, I don't see that getting any better. So make sure you are rushing to the waiver wire to pick up Jake Browning. He's competent. Giants and the Cowboys. This game was like shootout. I was sitting on the couch. I was like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And every time I look up, there was a big play being had, especially with Malik Nabers. Like that one play in the end zone was crazy. But Russell Wilson was doing Russell Wilson of all things. Unfortunately, he cost them the game at the end because I don't know who was supposed to be there or why he threw that ball in the middle of the field with no one there. But from a fantasy standpoint, we don't really care too much. We want as many big plays as possible, and that's what was on display in this game. Russell Wilson, 450 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. And if you play in a league where there is bonus for 50-yard plays, 40-yard plays, there were aplenty for this game. Dak Prescott was no slouch as well. 361 for 2 touchdowns. Scatterboo is the story here. I think the past 2 weeks, I have shares of Tyron Tracy on a bunch of my leagues, and he's just been quiet the past 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on there. And then we saw that they feature Scatterboo quite a bit in this game. So if he's on your waiver wire, I would pick him up like yesterday. You never know, right? What's happening in the backfield? Is it the O-line is struggling? I don't know. I'm not an expert. I'm not a film breakdown guy. So I don't know what is happening there. I just know that my fantasy roster could use some help from Tracy, and I've not been getting it in the past 2 weeks. Week 1, okay. Week 2 starts to become a trend, right? You start to see what happens in week 3. If I wouldn't blame you if you don't have him in your roster for week 3. I mean, And if you have him, hopefully you have Scatterbull, and so you're set up for whoever emerges in that backfield. But yeah, Scatterbull was looking good. And then we had Javonte Williams. I feel like Javonte has been the surprise of the season, right? As I was drafting this year, I don't have any shares of Javonte Williams. I think some of what we saw last year was just, again, he was in a new offense with Sean Payton. He was coming off an injury. There was just a lot of things going on in that Denver offense. I think we are getting to see him in a completely different environment now where there's a ton of opportunities for him. There was a bunch of plays in this game where he should have been tackled in the backfield, but he made something out of it, and it was like big runs after big runs. So yeah, he's really taking advantage of his opportunity. If you drafted him late, if you were one of the teams that when RB, went heavy up on wide receivers and other positions, and then invested in running backs later, and you picked him up for say $10, $15, you are sitting pretty right now. The past 2 weeks have been crazy. If I'm not he's in the top 10 if I'm not mistaken, maybe top 5. I did not expect that much from that level of production from him, but the opportunity is there. Even if he's not efficient, who cares, right? This is fantasy football. So if hopefully Javonte is not on your waiver wire. If he's on your waiver wire, you're most likely playing in a 10-team league. Still, I will pick him up and drop someone else who's not performing. There are no leagues that have that he's available, so you might want to keep your eye on him. Maybe trade for him if you can. But I don't see those opportunities going away. And I think for the first time, this guy was coming off an injury. What we've seen in the past years is that when guys come off injury, it really takes them a while to get their body right, feel comfortable in trusting their body again to do the things they're used to do prior to injury. So some of that maybe was at play here. And but yeah, I'm loving the performance thus far. If you picked him up, kudos to you. Malik Nabers and Wan'Dale Robinson, right? Malik Nabers, obviously we expected this level of performance. He was just, every time I looked, there was a big play being had. He and Russell Wilson were clicking throughout the game. Wan'Dale Robinson is a guy who I kept drafting towards the end of the draft. Hopefully I captured some of that in my draft. Whenever he was there, I tried to pick him, prioritize him over other players that were there because my projection said, hey, this guy is going to be good this year. So if you have rankings during draft season, try to trust those rankings, especially when you go into those salary cap drafts. Adhere to those rankings as best as possible, because if you don't trust them, then why have them in the first place, right? I did feel like I trusted Wan'Dale Robinson, and I think just based on how I drafted this year, it was more so heavy up on running backs and then just try to find value amongst wide receivers. It's good to see that that's paying off. I've not put him in my lineup yet the past 2 weeks, so I'm kicking myself for not doing that. I'm hoping that performance continues in the next few weeks and he'll be in my lineup. We saw this again last year, right? He was pretty productive last year, and so I think that's going to continue here. So if Wan'Dale is on your waiver wire, I will rush and pick him up as soon as possible. Let's move on here to Chicago. My lovely Chicago Bears, they were beat down in this game, right? It was not close. I feel like after half, you had some hope going into the half. There was none after that, right? It was not close. The Lions did whatever they wanted to do, offense, defense, special teams, and there was no answers to them, right? But we got some bright spots in this game, even on the Bears, and that's Rome Odunze. Going into this season, all of the experts were saying, hey, this is going to be a breakout season for him. He's going to be wide receiver 1 in that offense. And when we were drafting, he kept being in like that third to fourth tier of wide receivers, where everyone had drafted the big wide receivers. He was there with guys like Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings, like Chris Olave. Those are like the ranges he was going in. And so on average, I was getting Odunze for, let's just say, $15 to $20. That's good, right, for a starting wide receiver. So I feel like the past 2 weeks he's been outperforming his draft value, at least for what I drafted him for. Jared Goff, 334 and 5 touchdowns. Everyone on the Lions ate this game, right? And I mean, just go across the board. Everyone got involved in the action. I think it's great to see that his offense is going nowhere, but my question is, what happened in week 1? Is it just week 1? Like I was saying, this is like an extension of the preseason. Maybe they were just getting their legs under them and Green Bay hit them out of nowhere and they didn't know how to respond. But hopefully this is what we can expect from the Lions offense going forward. If you invested in this offense, you are pretty happy during this game because everyone, Montgomery, Gibbs, were like literally running laps around people. Amara, just everywhere you looked, there were play being made on the Lions offense. The Bears, DeAndre Swift led them with 12 for 63. I mean, it looks good. It's a serviceable stat line, and you would take that. But watching the game, it really didn't look that good. Like it didn't look that good watching the game. But I'll take it. I don't know what they're gonna do at running back. They can't run the ball right now to save their lives. So something's gonna have to change. Either they're gonna invest in that position, or something has to give. They have to be able to run the ball. And I don't know what it is. The Lions, like I mentioned, David Montgomery was running over the Bears, obviously. Like every time he gets the chance to, he's carrying like 10 guys to the end zone, or like for that first down, he was doing David Montgomery things. Jamari Gibbs was doing Gibb things. DJ Moore has been quiet the past 2 weeks. And I know the offense has been struggling, and it's not all his fault. But I feel like he's the odd man out in that offense right now. So yeah, you may, if you drafted DJ Moore, I didn't have any shares of DJ Moore this year. I had most shares of Odunze than I did DJ Moore, and DJ Moore was going higher than Odunze, at least from like a salary cap standpoint. Like the investment was going more towards DJ Moore, and I was picking up Odunze for cheaper. And I feel like that's worked in my favor, but still would love to see DJ Moore rebound here. Hopefully they'll figure this out pretty soon and the offense will be back on track. But if you have DJ Moore, I wouldn't be, if you were worried, I get it, right? You may want to sit him. If you don't have an alternative, you just have to play him. But if you have someone else on your bench, like a Wan'Dale Robinson that's producing, throw him in there and see what happens. And the way I approach it is like you're going to have to earn your way back into my lineup, right? If you're not performing, you're going to have to earn your way back into my lineup. And that's how I do it. I can't keep banging my head against the wall and hoping for better results when I have solutions on the bench. Like I mentioned, Amara, 9 for 115 and 3 touchdowns. I mean, no one could cover him. Like every time I look up, someone was basically like he was torching someone for like first down, touchdown, or a big play. Jameson Williams had 2 big plays. I don't know how sustainable that was. 2 really massive plays for 108. You would take it, but I don't know how much we can rely on that going forward. Maybe there's more to come. Maybe this offense was just getting their stride again, and we can expect Lions to do Lions things. But yeah, the Bears suck right now. Moving on to the Rams and the Titans. Matthew Stafford was serviceable. I have him in my 2 QB leagues as my second QB, so I will take that performance. There's nothing to sneeze at. The Titans offense, I don't know what to do at this point. The only people you can trust in that offense are Pollard, and that's it, right? There's no one else. Looking here, Cam Ward is playing good football for a rookie. He's making things happen out there. And I think as he learns and as the season unfolds, you can expect to have better performance from your key players. But how long are you going to wait, right? You want to be 0-4 first before you start sitting guys like Calvin Ridley. I don't know. It's up to you. That's a question that you have to answer. But a shining spot in this offense has been Io Maynard. He's been good the past few weeks, and he scored this week. So if you have him on your roster, keep an eye on him. There might be an opportunity here for you to like start playing him pretty soon. On the flip side, you may want to think about sitting Calvin Ridley for a little bit. But let's go through these running back positions here. Kyren Williams were like a little quiet this game. No scores. One of the things that stood out in this game was Blake Corum actually got some work, and he took advantage of that. 5 for 44 and a touchdown. If he's going to be a guy that it's going to be used to really like lessen the workload on Williams, you should have him everywhere on all of your benches, right? Because if anything happens to Kyren, Blake Corum, you got like a number one running back sitting there. So everywhere in every league where I had an opportunity to draft him, he's on my bench currently, and he's going to be there until further notice. Tony Pollard is like a one-man wrecking crew right now, 20 for 92. He's been pretty busy in the past 2 weeks, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Devontae Adams got going in this game, 6 for 106. Puka Nacua was also active in this game. He had, 8 for 91, but his biggest came in like the rush game, 1 for 45 and a touchdown. So he's getting his opportunities from all of these places, but Devontae Adams finally started to get like that rapport going with Matthew Stafford. So if you drafted him too, great. Hopefully good things for your team. Like I said, Calvin Ridley is probably going to be good long term this season, but how long are you going to wait? Are you going to wait to be 0-5 before you sit him? All the leagues where I have Calvin Ridley, he's going to have to earn his way back into my roster. Like I was mentioning earlier, he's going to have to earn his way back into my starting lineup. So I'm going to just sit him for now and throw someone else in there. I'd rather throw Wan'Dale Robinson in there than Calvin Ridley right now, right? Because he's giving me nothing to hang my hat on, and this is not just based on this year. I'm going back. I had a lot of shares of Calvin Ridley last year, and we saw the same performance as well. So I'm sure he's going to be fine long term, but I don't have the time to sit and wait to find that out. And if there's an opportunity to trade him, I will take that opportunity to trade him if you can. I know everyone is savvy nowadays. No one's going to bite. But if you find an opportunity to trade him, I would say trade him. Let him be someone else's problem, and you can kind of move on here. Patriots and the Dolphins. Like I said, everyone tends to overreact in week one, right? If you watch the Dolphins offense in week one, you would have thought that everyone, like they basically didn't know how to play football, but they came around this in week two. Tua was doing Tua things. He was hooking up with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and all of those guys were getting the opportunities to shine. One guy, and a key takeaway from this game is Ramondre Stevenson. Every chance I got as I was drafting, I just kept picking up Ramondre Stevenson. And that's because I'm a Buckeye fan as well, and so I know that Trevian Henderson is probably going to be the better back to own long term in this offense. But I know that sometimes he's injury prone, and there's a lot to learn in the NFL. And I know it's easier for running backs, but I just thought Ramondre would have a bigger opportunity to partake in this offense than like everyone was giving him, right? Like, I mean, the hype around Henderson was crazy during like the draft season, right? It was like, oh my God, like he was going for like $40, $50 in salary cap leagues. And I was just like, wow, that's like, I couldn't believe my eyes. So I just kept drafting Ramondre for $10, $9, right? And I think that proved me right in this game. Hopefully he can keep, being like he could keep producing. If you're getting like 8 to 10 points from Ramondre every game, you should be good. You don't I don't expect him to score 20 points every game, but 8 to 10 to 15 from game to game, that's possible. So if you have a flex spot, I will throw him in your flex spot and just see what happens game to game. I mean, certainly I would love to have him in my flex spot right now over Calvin Ridley, right? I'll take that any day. From the passing game side, I really not much happened for like the Patriots here. They were pretty quiet. Stephon Diggs has been quiet the past few weeks, but I think all of that will turn around here as the season progresses. A guy you should keep your eye on is Malik Washington. He's been active in the past 2 weeks, been getting some opportunities. If any injuries occur in that offense or someone gets traded, I think that's a guy that really stands to benefit from all of that. So if you have a deep bench, I would definitely pick him up and stash him there and just keep your eye on him. Devon Achane, obviously, has been doing Devon Achane things. Hopefully he can stay healthy here. In terms of the passing game, I sat Waddle in most of my leagues this week, and obviously when you sit him, that's when he's going to go off, and then obviously when you start him, he's going to give you a dud. But it's good to see that this offense is kind of getting back to their old ways. There was a lot of big plays down the field, and they were trying at least to get the offense to what it used to be. Tyreek 6'4", 109, and Achane is 8'4" for 92 and a touchdown, combined with like what his rushing yards. And that's basically it from this game. I didn't hear anything on the injury front from these two teams. So yeah, and if you drafted Tua in your 2 QB league and you drafted him, you were sitting pretty this week. Especially in my leagues where there are bonuses for big plays. There was a lot of big plays being had. San Francisco and the Saints. I think like the key takeaway from this game here is that Spencer Rattler is going to be serviceable as a QB, and so there is definitely going to be opportunities, fantasy opportunities in that offense. I think from week to week you will see different guys emerge, but for the most part, he looked serviceable, and I have leagues where he's my backup QB. I'm sitting pretty right now. If I have to throw this guy in for a couple of games, I think I will be fine. So if he's out there and you are in like a 2 QB league, maybe this is a guy you can pick up. Mac Jones came in and did a good job for filling in for Brock Purdy. Not too much to talk about there, but he was a professional QB. Christian McCaffrey is Christian McCaffrey. Like, this offense is built around him. When he's healthy, he's gonna get the most of the opportunities in this offense. Not much from anyone else. Alvin Kamara has been Alvin Kamara. I mean, like, this guy is just every year he impresses. Last year I didn't draft not one share of Alvin Kamara, and because I was afraid that he might get injured. But he proved me wrong last year. So this year I was in on a ton of shares of Alvin Kamara, and he hasn't disappointed this year. So I was literally seeking him out in drafts because I knew like people. I would go. Usually, what I did in drafts this year is I would nominate him early when people have money, because I knew I could get him in the $20 range, right? And most people would be like, "Oh, okay, I still have Genty on the board, so I'll spend my money there," right? So I was getting away with paying 20 something for Alvin Kamara because people just got, okay, like, I don't want to spend up, and I thought he was worth every penny I paid. He's been good for my lineups thus far. Juwan Jennings scored in this game, 5 for 89. I think he's starting to gain his legs. I mean, he sat out for a pretty long time heading into the regular season. So I think he's just getting back in football shape, and we're starting to see some of that come to fruition. Pearsall was good. I mean, not too much to write about. I think he had a better connection with Brock Purdy, and we should see that surface again when he gets back. Christian McCaffrey scored also here, 6 for 52 and a touchdown. So I think all of your key 49ers players did what they were supposed to do, with the exception of Ricky Pearsall. On the receiving side for the Saints, Olave, he's been serviceable. I mean, given where we were drafting him, and we didn't expect too much. I think Shaheed. This was a better game for Shaheed, and Juwan Johnson this was a better game for him. He made like that ridiculous play in the end zone for a touchdown. Yeah, so again, the key takeaway here is that Christian McCaffrey's he's looking healthy, and they're using him all over the field. Juwan Jennings should be in your lineup going forward with Ricky Pearsall. You never know who scores that touchdown, but I expect these guys to start getting more volume as the season progresses. Alvin Kamara is doing Alvin Kamara thing, and Spencer Rattler is serviceable as a QB. Okay, Bills and Jets. This game was not close. This game started with, it was not close all game, but this was like a big game for James Cook. This was his breakout game for the season. I mean, he was running all over the Jets, to say the least. Justin Fields got hurt in this game. So, again, if you're in a 2 QB league, maybe Tyrod Taylor is a guy you look at. I don't know how long Justin's going to be out for. The last I heard today is that he was in concussion protocol. So, maybe that's something he can get through and be back on the field as soon as possible. But I'll probably bet that he's out for at least a week. So, if you need it, it doesn't hurt to pick up Tyrod Taylor and throw him in your QB spot if you were in a 2 QB league. James Cook, like I said, was running all over the Jets. Josh Allen didn't really have to do much in this game. He got hurt as well, but like the offense was just clicking. Every play they ran seemed like it scored, and so there was not too much for him to do. But he still has 6 for 59 yards. So it was a quiet day, but you're gonna have those from time to time. And like I said, Justin Fields got hurt, but before then he gave you 5 for 49. So he was well on his way to having like a serviceable, I think, game when he got hurt. Breece Hall was quiet in this game, and I think just the entire offense just kind of sputtered. Receiving for the Bills, Josh Palmer led them in receiving. Like I said, they didn't really have to throw the ball like they did week 1. So they were running, a lot of plays here and there at the goal line that didn't require Josh to throw the ball, to rush it in and stuff like that. So also say that there will be better days ahead for the Bills receivers, but it's good to see Josh Palmer here. The past 2 weeks has been doing really good in this offense. Garrett Wilson, I think, will bounce back this week, either with Tyrod Taylor or Justin Fields, whoever plays, he should be fine. The Steelers and Seattle. I think one of the takeaway from this game is that the defenses on these teams are going to be hellacious this year. Seattle is playing really good defense right now. I feel like they were picking up, or had a chance to pick up, Aaron Rodgers throughout the game. Takeaway here is that Ken Walker is back. I know there was a lot of chatter last week about Ken Walker's performance, and some analysts were downgrading him, even to the point where I sat him in one league. But that's because I have better options in that league, right? I just had, my team is stacked. It's a 12-team league. I had a lot of options to play, and so I didn't want to risk it with Ken Walker till I saw better production. Thank God he came to life in this game. He outperformed Charbonnet in terms of the opportunities. I mean, they got virtually the same carries, but he way outperformed Charbonnet. I think he's just a better runner overall. And if the coaches are smart, they would just keep, handing him the ball. If he gets injured, he gets injured. But I expect this performance to give him buy him more opportunities in that offense, right? If you invested in Ken Walker, which I did in almost every single league, and I'm in close to 20 of them this year, you are sitting pretty right now. Not that Charbonnet is not going to factor into that offense, but it is good to be proven right, at least for 1 week, right? Because it was after week 1, there was the pitchforks were out. So it was good to see Ken Walker shine in this game and reward you all for drafting him. On like the Steelers side, Jalen Warren has been basically the lead back. We haven't heard much from Caleb Johnson just yet. Hopefully that's something that changes as the season goes on. From the receiving side, JSN was doing JSN things. Again, similar to what I said about week 1 and other players. Cooper Kupp, right? I mean, I was listening to people saying Cooper Kupp is basically done. He should just, for all intents and purposes, he was like the Walking Dead out there. And he came to life in this game, 7 for 90. That's pretty good, right? For where you draft a Cooper Kupp. I mean, I'll take that any day. So hopefully this offense opens up more and more as the season progresses and we start to see performances from this guy. But if you are not going to pick up Cooper Kupp, for whatever your reason is, I think you should be picking up Horton, right? I think he's a really good complement to what Cooper Kupp and JSN does in this offense. He can stretch the field, and they need that guy to stretch the field. So I think that's a role he's going to occupy. So on waiver wires this week, if you have an opportunity and you have an empty spot, I would definitely pick him up and drop him in there and go from there, right? Worst case, it doesn't materialize. You can drop him a few weeks from now. I wouldn't spend too much on him, but keep your eye on that player is all I mean. On the Steelers side, it was Jalen Warren again, 4 for 86. I mean, if you drafted him again, this is one of the guys that will go in late in the later rounds, and he was going for pretty cheap. So if you drafted him, you were sitting pretty right now. No one else did anything of consequence. DK Metcalf, I have him in one league. I'm gonna keep playing him, but like I don't expect too much from him this season. So if you have a DK, you should probably wait for a really good game. Hopefully he gets another decent game this week. Try to flip him if you can. Okay, Cleveland and the Ravens, right? This game looked closer early on, right? It was closer early on, and the Ravens ran away from them. I think the highlights in this game is that the Ravens offense is going to be a little bit more like the Packers offense, right? Where it's going to be hard to trust these guys week in and week out. We saw this happen last year as well, so I'm hoping that it course corrects itself later this year with Mark Andrews and guys like that. But in this game, it was Devontae Walker, who's like scoring the touchdowns, and it was just guys no one had on the fantasy teams that were scoring in this game. So this is how it goes sometimes. But yeah, Lamar did Lamar things. Derrick Henry was pretty quiet. I think he fumbled again this game. They did not lose that fumble if I'm not mistaken. And then like Tillman just got lucky on that touchdown. Not much to write about here. It got deflected and then he caught it. So, but you would take it, right? If you had him in your lineup, you take it. On the Baltimore side, it's good to see Quinshon Judkins actually factoring into this offense. I got word late that he was starting, so I threw him in my flex in one of the leagues I had him. That for a first game for a guy who missed all of training camp, that looks pretty good. And I'll say you should. Hopefully he ramps up here pretty soon. And if you drafted him for $1 in your leagues, you've got a starting running back for $1. So that's why I love salary cap, because you can go heavy up on certain positions. And then guys like these, if you want to be risky, take an opportunity on them. And this looks like it's paying off right now for managers. Jared Jeudy was also quiet in this game. Harold Fannin continues to be a part of this offense. So if you also picked him off waivers, you should be good. I think he's going to keep being a factor in this offense. Zay Flowers was good in this game. DeAndre Hopkins came to life. But again, if you look at the receptions and the amount of targets these guys were getting, it's pretty low, right? I think the one that's sustainable here is Zay Flowers. But again, it's just going to be hard to know who catches the touchdowns every game. So Yeah, I think the only person I feel comfortable starting in Ravens passing game right now is Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews because obviously tight ends are just, if you don't have one, that's what you got. Talking about tight ends, see what I did there. Evan Ingram. What's happening to Evan Ingram? I thought he was going to be, PPR monster in this offense, right? I don't know what's happening there. Adam Troutman's getting more run than him, but we'll get to that. But I'll say like the key takeaway from this game is that the Colts are legit. They are playing really good football. I'm also scared. I'm looking for the other shoe to drop when it comes to Daniel Jones. And got if you drafted Daniel Jones this year in the Superflex leagues we were in, God, he was going for like 15, 16, 18. That means that you spend your money elsewhere on really good players. Right now, you are like laughing to the bank, right? Because I didn't expect him to perform to this level thus far this year, right? He's surprised me with his performance. That entire Colts offense have surprised me with their performances. So yeah, the story here is Daniel Jones continues his ascension, if you would, from last week. Bo Nix was okay, 3 touchdowns, but I think over time he will play better. And again, one of the surprises of this season has been J.K. Dobbins. This is a guy who was going in the dollar bin. I mean, everyone was spending their money on R.J. Harvey, including me. And J.K. Dobbins was just out here, right? Nobody was like drafting him. And if you drafted J.K. Dobbins and you have running back voids on your team, you are also sitting pretty right now. So good job. He's been leading that backfield in every way, shape, or form. Jonathan Taylor, this game was a monster. 25 for 165, and he was also he played a big role in the passing game. On the receiving side, Troy Franklin was the leading receiver in this game. He just got a lot of opportunities. So I don't know what to make of this one. Last week it was Cortland Sutton. This week it was Troy Franklin. Are they just doing matchup based things here? Is that why we're seeing like the fluctuations between these two? I would love to know more. But anyway, keep your eye on Troy Franklin. If your bench is deep, pick him up. He's on waivers everywhere. Even in my deep leagues, he's on waivers. So hopefully this is something that continues. But I don't know, right? I don't know what to make of this. So we'll have to see what happens in the next week in order to make a better decision. On the Colts side, Tyler Warren led them. Again, he's going to be good this year. I'm so angry that I only drafted him in one league. But 4 for 79. Pierce was a factor in this game. Everyone else was quiet. Jonathan Taylor also had 2 for 50 and a touchdown, right? So he's factoring in the pass game, in the run game. That's over what? That's over 200 yards right there of like total offense for Taylor and 1 touchdown. So again, I don't have too many shares of Taylor. For those who have him, this offense is looking great. I think there will be better days for your wide receivers, at least as it relates to Michael Pittman. He's the type of guy that was going next to Odunze and stuff like that, and he was good last week. So I expect that from week to week there will be ebb and flows, but like I expect him to be solid throughout the season. Okay, let's go on to the Panthers and the Cardinals. I mean, the first play of this game, if I'm not mistaken, the first play of this game was a fumble recovery for a touchdown. It was a sack fumble. At least that's the first play I saw. And but yeah, they got off to a rough start in this game. It wasn't close for the entire first half, and then they started to make a play late in the third quarter here. But he finished with 328 garbage time yardage and 3 touchdowns. I'll take it any day. I mean, again, if you're in a 2 QB league, You are sitting pretty right now. You are not complaining at all at those stat lines. Again, this is fantasy football. We saw that T Mac finally started to get some of that work we saw. So 6 for 100 yards, you would take that any day again. If you juxtapose this with what we are seeing from Travis Hunter, I wish I drafted T Mac instead of Hunter because he's been really performing in the first few games here. Hunter ran for 7 for 48 and 2 touchdowns. I don't know why this guy was out of football. He's really good. Like, I don't know why teams are not giving him an opportunity. Hunter Renfro is good. He gets open. He's a poor man's version of Lad McConkey. So I don't know why he wasn't getting opportunities to play. But I'm happy for the guy. He showed up here, 7 for 48 and 2 touchdowns. You will take that. But I think more importantly, what I see here is that when Jalen Coker gets back, Jalen Coker? Yes. When Coker gets back, that's the role he's going to occupy, right? He's going to occupy that role. And so you can expect a lot of production out of that role. So if Coker is on any of your waivers, pick him up right now, stash him in your IR because that's the role he's going to be occupying when he gets back from IR. So keep your eye on that. Connor, again, was solid in this game, 11 for 34. Chuba Hubbard, 10 for 38, but I think he scored a touchdown in the passing game here, 5 for 39. So, yeah, they're using him everywhere, so you can't complain based on where you drafted Hubbard. Trey McBride has been producing based on where you drafted him. Marvin Harrison is starting to scare me. I don't know what to do there, right? I mean, we saw this last year. It's just they're not on the same page. So what do you do about that, right? It's hard to sit him because in most leagues where you have him, he's one of your top wide receivers. If you're in a 4 wide receiver league like me, most of my leagues are 4 wide receivers, which I did to myself. He's one of your wide receivers. Who are you going to sit him for? Those leagues are deep. You don't have a lot of depth on your bench. Maybe if you had like a Wan'Dale Robinson, throw him in there and figure it out. But Harrison, I don't know what's going on there. So just keep your eye on that one long term. Philly, this game was low scoring, really. Patrick Mahomes is like the takeaway from this game. He was the everything do it all for the Chiefs. He was the leading rusher. He made some big plays that helped your fantasy teams. Saquon Barkley did Saquon Barkley things. 22 rushing attempts for 88 and 1 touchdown. Jalen Hurts was quiet in this game, although he gave you like the 1 rushing touchdown. There is no running game for the Chiefs right now. Kareem Hunt, Pacheco, all of those guys have been pretty pedestrian thus far. So I don't know what to do. Patrick Mahomes was like leading rusher. That's a problem. So yeah, it's rare that like Andy Reid offenses can run the ball. It's a play calling. I mean, Pacheco didn't just forget how to play football, right? So hopefully this is just some of the stuff here is from like what happened with the injury. Maybe he's not trusting himself just yet. There's some loss in burst and stuff like that, but hopefully that comes back as the season progresses and he gets more comfortable. But yeah, it's been like if you win wide receiver, 0 running back, or and focus on wide receivers, and you picked Pacheco up as your only running back, I mean your top running back, you are yeah, you might want to trade some of the wide receivers for a better QB. And I'm tired here. I've been staring at screens all day, so forgive me, my eyes. On the Eagles side, Devontae. On the Eagles side, Smith and A.J. Brown, I mean, the past 2 weeks they've been really quiet. I feel like the Eagles are going to run the ball mostly this year. I don't have too many shares of A.J. Brown and Smith, but there will be games for them. There will be big games. There will be quiet games for them. So I wouldn't worry too much. if you have better alternatives, you may just sit them for a game or two and see what happens here. But if you drafted these guys, I think they'll be fine long term. It's just, can you afford to wait till like they have like the peak games? That's the question. And I can answer that. Only you can answer that. On the Chiefs side, Travis Kelce led the team with 4 for 61. But everyone else here were pretty quiet. Let's move on to Atlanta. So the Falcons won this game, which is, it left me kicking myself even more. Like it made me sad like we lost to this team last week because we had them. Talking about the Chicago Bears, we should have won this game against the Vikings. The Vikings should be 0-2 right now, right? Not 1-1. But I digress. The Falcons handled business. They made J.J. McCarthy look like he's starting his first few games in the NFL. He's going to be fine. He's going to be better. But talking about that, I think he's out for the next 4 weeks or something. So 3 to 4 weeks, I heard today. So if you have him in your Superflex leagues, make sure you're picking up Sam Howell. I think Sam Howell is a backup in that offense. So pick him up. I think he would be serviceable as well, right? There was not much going on the QB side here. I think like the biggest players in this game were Bijan Robinson, 22 for 143. The Falcons ran the heck out of the ball in this game. And Argier for 16 for 76 and a touchdown. So if they're running the ball that much, yeah. Right. I think they're just like, okay, we're gonna run at this team and let them stop us. And the Vikings really didn't do a good job of stopping them. So yeah, if you can run and win the game, why not go that way? Jordan Mason was quiet in this game, but he was the lead rusher here, 9 for 30, as opposed to Aaron Jones. Drake London 3 for 49. Like I said, like there was not really much to be had in the passing game for Penix in this game, and so a lot of like the wide receivers suffer as a result. Darnell Mooney is a guy who I started confidently this week in some leagues. Sat Jalen Waddle for him, and that blew up in my face big time. Jefferson, it was 3 for 81. You would take it, right, any day. Hawkinson's been quiet. Everyone else has been super quiet in that offense. Last but not least here is the game that just wrapped up. The Buccaneers won this one. So it's a bunch of 0-2 teams now, including mine. But yeah, 20-19. Baker Mayfield was connecting with Ibuka again. I think the story here is that we are getting some good work from Nick Chubb. I mean, he scored a touchdown today. You would take that from all of the things we heard leading into like the season. If you drafted Nick Chubb, you are lucky right now. You would take the points where you can get them. Hopefully, he gets back to a semblance of what he used to be, and you should be sitting pretty. And if he's on your waiver wire anywhere, you should pick him up. Hey, it doesn't have to look pretty. It just needs to be serviceable. And on the Bucs side, Rashad White is going nowhere. He's always involved in the passing game, in the run game. He's vulturing touchdowns here and there. So if you have Bucky Irvin, I didn't have not one share of Bucky Irvin. You probably last week was good for you. This week was also good, right? He got like 17 for 71. I think he did some work in the passing game as well. Yeah, there you go, 6 for 50. So you're good. But yeah, like Rashad White is always a factor. You'd rather have 2 touchdowns from Bucky than 1, but he's always going to be a factor on this team. And so if you have him somewhere, you know, if you have a flex, throw him in there from game to game if the matchup is good, and hopefully you reap the rewards. Mike Evans has been super quiet the past 2 weeks. I don't know what's happening there. Starting to get a little concerned here, guys, right? I think it's a little case of what we've seen from Marvin Harrison. I know he will be fine, but I don't know what's going on there. Like, feed Mike Evans, please. Nico Collins was good, 3 for 52 and a touchdown. And I think, yeah, these guys are in the large scheme. I think the trend we are seeing here is that, yeah, the guys you drafted really high are producing. It's just that we expect monster games from these guys, and like sometimes the performances are really underwhelming. And so, but don't get frustrated, right? Don't get frustrated and start trading your key players here. I mean, I had one of my leagues, one of the guys offered Genty and Nabers for scraps. Basically, he wanted depth, and it was like, we were like, no, guy. He was mad. He was talking, hey, the guys, like, this trade is good. I wanted to get more depth on my team. I was like, we're saving you from yourself, guy. Don't trade your top players because of week 1 and a few injuries. Work the waiver wire. And I'm sure he's pretty happy that we vetoed that trade this week. But yeah, don't get desperate and just start trading all of your players for what you hope would be better performance on the other side. The grass is not always greener. Work the waiver wires. Keep your eye on the ground in terms of what's happening. There will be injuries. There will be guys to pick up. Just stay attentive and be smart with how you navigate the season. All right, guys? We'll definitely be back next week with more of this stuff. As we do more of this stuff, it'll definitely get better for you. Try to bring you some nuggets that hopefully can help you on your waiver wire. But guys that I'll be looking at on the waiver wire is Torrey Horton. This type of guys. If one deals on your waiver wire, pick him up. Don't hurt Rashad White, Blake Corum. Those type of guys are the type of guys that may be available in my league. And so those are the type of guys I'm looking for. For guys who are underperforming, like Calvin Ridley, DJ Moore, make sure you keep your eye on it. Maybe sit them for a game and figure out what's happening and see if there's better performance to be had there. And if it's not, if it's by week 3, week 4, maybe you need to start making other decisions in terms of trades and stuff like that. And that's the same for Marvin Harrison. I just don't know what to do with that guy right now. Keep playing him or sit him, but if you have better alternatives, it doesn't hurt to sit him for now until you start to see something good. Okay, best of luck on the waiver wires. Don't spend all your money in one place. I think there will still be a lot of players to pick up this week, especially for my 2 QB league folks. Make sure you are reaching on the waiver wire for Sam Howard and Brownie. It's a Cincinnati player. So, yeah, Jake Brownie, right? We want Jake Brownie. We want to invest in Sam Howard. Maybe Tyrod Taylor if you are desperate. Those are the guys that are of note here from the QB side. Yeah, hopefully you enjoy this one. Like I said, I'll be back every week and I'll try to bring this to you as best as possible. But yeah, best of luck in week 3. Best of luck on the waiver wires. Hopefully you enjoy watching this video. Give me a like, thumbs up, leave a comment below, subscribe, all of the things if you like this, so I can keep bringing this to you. All right, I'm tired. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out.